Hey guys, welcome to Photo. In this video I'm going to go over how to get 100 on your bench assignment. Alright, the things that you'll do to the bench, how to manipulate it. So first things first, you should download the bench from Google Classroom. Everyone's using the same bench. It's in PNG format, which means we were able to preserve transparency. So I'm going to go to File, Open, or I can click on Open from Computer over here. And I'm going to grab the bench. Okay, this should open your bench in Photopea. You'll see it as a background over here, and it will open this tab up here telling me that our bench is open. Now, the first thing you'll need to do with the bench is put it somewhere. It can't just float in, nothingness here. So I also downloaded another picture of the moon landing. There it is. That's where I'm going to put my bench. Now, I did go over using Pexels.com, P-E-X-E-L-S.com for high-res images that you guys can use on Photoshop assignments like this where you don't need to take your own pictures. So give that a look. So let's talk about moving the bench over to the other background. Use your Move tool. You can bring your Move tool up to the other tab and then let go. Sometimes this does not work, so your alternative method is Edit Copy, Edit Paste. Okay. Now we have our bench. Now to make our bench bigger in the scene or to change its direction, maybe, we can go to Edit, Transform. Okay, look at all these options. Look what if I flip it horizontally, it's flipped the other way, right? We just mirrored it. I can go to Edit, Transform, and go to Scale. And I can make the bench bigger this way. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to make the bench bigger. Right there, all right? So now I have a bench on a background. It's covering the astronaut. I want to show you in this video really how to put the bench behind the astronaut, as I showed you in class, and to change the bench from this kind of wood, natural like oak color to black and white. So let's talk about changing the color of the bench first. I'm just going to hide the astronaut just so we can just focus on this. I'm going to go down to the circle with the slash down it. All right, that's our adjustment layer. Now when you're thinking about what an adjustment layer is, just break down that compound. Layers are these things over here, and they contain images or graphics. And then an adjustment is something that we make to something to change it. So if we're going to adjust this bench, that would mean we can make it darker, we can make it lighter, we can add contrast, we can add color, we can take away color. So if you're looking to change the bench in any one of those ways, look no further than the adjustment layers. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do something very similar to what we did in the colorization project. I'm going to select Color Fill. All right, remember this big red box over your screen? This happens when you make a new layer with that just fill with color. It's a color fill. It fills the layer with color. So I want it to just apply to my bench, and I want to change the color of the bench. So remember in colorization, we changed the blending mode to color. All right, now doing that, I have background, right, and then all this red. And the reason that all of this red is here is because the background's transparent and it has nothing to blend to. But when I put the background layer on, right, it now changes all of that background color to red too. So I don't want the moon to be red like this, right? It's not Mars. I don't want this red haze. So I'm going to right click on Color Fill and I'm going to go to Clipping Mask. Now you see it only affects the bench. So when I click on the bench and I move the bench around, which it's not letting me do right now, but I'm going to go into Color Fill and change the color of the bench. Okay, let's say you wanted a neon green bench, I don't know, aliens or something. But I want to make it kind of darker. So next thing I'm going to do is make the bench a little darker, which I can't do just with the gray. So I put the gray in, but I'm going to make it darker now. I'm going back to the adjustment layers, and I'm going to grab levels this time. I'm also going to make a clipping mask, so it just affects the bench. And then when I move these, this is your shadows, your midtones, your highlights. So when I bring the highlights down, you see it gets lighter. When I bring the shadows this way, it gets darker. So if you wanted to add contrast, you would bring the shadows this way, and then you bring that way, and you can play with the midtones depending on how dark or light you want those. Okay, so this is a little better, more in the realm of what I'm looking for. So I'm going to keep that as such. Now I'm faced with the problem that I want this bench behind the astronaut. I don't want it in front of the astronaut because it looks kind of weird. It's just sitting in front of him. So I'm going to go down to the bench layer. Okay, and there's a couple ways I can do this, but here's the best way. I want to erase the bench, right, exactly where the astronaut is. So I'm not going to just by guess try to erase it. I'm going to hide the bench layer for a second. So I'm using the quick selection tool. Now it selected most of him, but it also selected a bunch of stuff that I didn't want it to select over here. So I'm going to hit the minus button, and I'm going to deselect over here. Okay, now it might not be perfect, but we'll be able to, again, fix this with a layer mask in a second. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show my bench layer again. You have this selection going, and then I'm going to make a layer mask. Now the layer mask is just showing me the opposite of what I want. All right, I want to switch it. So what I'm going to need to do is go to Image, Adjustments, and go to Invert. Okay, and that flipped the layer mask. But I want us to look over here at all these mistakes that the selection tool's made. So I'm going to need to come in here and paint with white. Remember, black to conceal, white to reveal. And I can paint back the bench where I didn't want it taken away. Like all these extra areas where they made the selection that I didn't want, right? Now, if this is looking complicated, and Photopea at sometimes I can vouch for you guys and empathize that this could be frustrating using this, because it's at stuff like this, it seems a little laggy and a little buggy. So if you're saying to yourself, gosh, this doesn't look easy, Patrick, focus more on not putting the bench behind someone. I'm choosing to do something that is just like a little bit advanced, and would be honestly much easier in Photoshop. Okay, so I'm just painting this stuff back. I won't have you watch all of this. I hope you get the idea by now. But now at least you have the bench behind him, okay? And that's one thing that you can do to the bench. Another thing, kind of a more simpler thing. let's just, I'm going to hide the astronaut again. I have this here. I'm going to grab some graffiti. Anything that looks cool, like the colors. You have to save it. So I'm going to save this. Go into Photopea, File, Open. Okay. I'm going to go to Edit, Copy. And then I did Command V to paste, or edit paste. Now I'm going to make it bigger by going to Edit, Transform, going to Scale. Okay, I'm holding down Shift when I make it bigger to keep the proportions the same. I'm just going to get rid of this mask right now. All right, so I have the whole bench back. So this is simple. If you have your bench somewhere, okay, we're just back to the regular old bench. I'm going to delete some of these other things. And you have the graffiti on top of them. Try changing the blending modes. See what it's going to do. I'm going to go to Overlay. Let's go to Soft Light. And then you can make a layer mask, okay? And you can paint with black. Where you don't want the graffiti. Okay. Just moving this over. And then keep playing with it. Hard light, maybe not. Not vivid light. No. I'm thinking like overlay or soft light is going to do the best for you. Because you still want to see some of the bench. So then you can come into the layer mask here and you can take black. And this is that trick that I taught you where you can click once and then hold down Shift and click again and it will erase. Okay, and then you'd continue doing that. So that's if you wanted to put graffiti on the bench, you can try that. So I simply took graffiti, made a layer mask, changed the blending mode. So there's lots you can do, putting it in different environments. So you're making 3 changes, okay? And the changes don't all have to be done to the bench. So moving the bench into an environment, that's one change. Maybe changing the sky color of that environment, there's another change. Putting someone on the bench, there's your 3rd change. You're done. All right, I hope this helped. I know it was a little buggy with some technical things in Photopea, but hopefully it made more sense and you are a little bit more knowledgeable than you were before. Okay, thanks guys. See you soon.